Hello and welcome to the Joe Ligato Show. I'm your host, Dr. Joe Ligato, and today we're going to be talking about the Zionist influence over social media and how they have complete control of the propaganda apparatus of the world. And so this story is from the BBC, and it talks about how Instagram has, in the past, translated Palestinian to mean Palestinian terrorist. And so if that is not a good indication of the level of propaganda control that the Zionist has, I don't know what is. So for people who do not know, Instagram, like essentially every social media platform, is run by, it was founded by and is run by Zionists, and their major financial backers are Zionists. It's just how things are in the American empire. And so this story from the BBC is titled, "Instagram Sorry for Adding Terrorist to Some Palestinian Users' Bios." So Meta, which is again a company that is run by Zionists, Mark Zuckerberg is a Zionist, has apologized for adding terrorists to the biographies of some Instagram users describing themselves as Palestinians. Meta said it fixed the problem that briefly caused inappropriate Arabic translations in some of its products. So here's the thing. They censor and shadow ban people and other things for speaking out against Zionism all the time. So pretending like this is in error when it only happens in error in opposition to the Zionist forces and the Zionist propaganda is just ridiculous. That's not how artificial intelligence works. It's not gonna... artificial intelligence is not naturally pro-Zionist. So just to pretend like this is an error that wasn't caused by humans, at the end of the day, at the core of the matter, is really ridiculous. It's really silly. So this article says, "We sincerely apologize that this happened." Meta told the BBC the platform has also faced accusations of suppressing content voicing support for Palestinians during the Israel-Gaza conflict. Yeah, that's obviously the case. The overwhelming majority of oligarchs support Israel, and the overwhelming majority of the people of the world support Palestine. And you see that it's the oligarchs that have control of the levers of propaganda, and because of that, it seems like the Zionists have more influence, more popularity than they actually do, and it's really just artificial, and the people are being suppressed. So the article goes on to say some users say they have been shadow banned on Instagram over pro-Palestinian posts. So this is not, what am I trying to say? It's not a suspicion. This is confirmed. I've seen people, numerous people who have been shadow banned for pro-Palestinian posts. In fact, this YouTube channel is suppressed, shadow banned because of the YouTube post. There was a time where really early on, I was getting thousands upon thousands of viewers. Like, it was very clear, and I understand how algorithms work. It was very clear that if you have a certain impression click-through rate and you have a certain view duration and view percent seen, then you get pushed through the algorithm more. And typically it's weighted towards the first or the most recent video that is pushed through the algorithm the most. And so I understood how that system worked, and it was very clear that the second I started to talk about Zionism, either in my comment section or in my videos, I was instantly going from thousands of views to hundreds of views to dozens of views. And some videos are not even reaching 2-digit views. And really weird considering all the updates, all the improvements I've made. And it's very obvious just looking at the algorithm. I do not trend in the algorithm like I used to. I will have videos where you're having 10 plus minutes of watch time from the viewers, 90% view duration, 15% impression click-through rate. And my video is just not pushed through the algorithm. And they know to give themselves some plausible deniability. So they don't just say, you're getting no impressions. It's you go from getting tens of thousands of impressions to getting, say, maybe a couple dozen impressions. And so they make sure to just dial that down as much as possible without completely removing you from the algorithm. And there's also some other techniques that they do as well, which is, I think one lever they have is they, in the algorithm, can make sure that you either get seen by people in the region where you're living or get seen by people who are most likely to view you. And one thing I noticed was early on, I was getting seen by more people in the Western world. And as a Westerner, that's appreciated, especially because of the fact that I am making videos that are primarily tailored to a Western audience. However, what they did eventually was they ended up pushing my videos only to a Southeastern Asian audience. And so they tweaked it. So one, I'm not in the algorithm as much. And two, they are only showing my videos to people from like India, Malaysia, the Philippines. They are not showing my videos to people like Americans, Canadians, people in the United Kingdom. They're not showing my videos to them pretty much at all at this point. Most of my audience is actually like from Malaysia, which is interesting. I don't know overly much about Malaysia, so but that is what the algorithm is doing. And they have ways of doing that where they have a little bit of wiggle room whenever they make an algorithm where people scroll through a certain amount of videos and you can have maybe, I'm just throwing out a number here, maybe 10% of those videos be not something that the person would be of interest in and they would still use the platform. I mean, if you get to the point where like half of the videos are just not of interest whatsoever, they're going to say like, okay, this recommendation algorithm does not know me. But if it's say 10%, they may just give it a pass. And so what they're clearly doing is they're pushing my video very minimally. And when they are pushing it, they are pushing it to people who are very unlikely to watch my videos. Whereas before it was at the very least a Western audience, which could understand English. A lot of people use subtitles. I get like Persian subtitles, Malaysian subtitles, Tagalog, the Philippines language. I mean, they have a ton of different subtitles for a ton of different languages that it makes it very clear. Not only do they give you location data, but they also convey to you that the audience does not speak English as a first language. And so it's very clear that I'm being suppressed, intentionally suppressed. And it exclusively started when I talked about Zionism. When I was just talking about, say, China directly, or when I was talking about Russia, they were completely fine with that, even if it went against the Western narrative. But as soon as I started talking about Zionism and Israel, complete suppression in the algorithm. Like, again, I've said this in other videos. I've written machine learning, artificial intelligence algorithms. I've used them in my research studies, my master's thesis, my doctoral dissertation. And I know this is not how algorithms work. They don't get worse over time like this very clearly did. And it's not a sharp decline like what clearly happened unless they released an update where everyone would have faced such a sharp decline. And it's very clear that it was only me and other content creators that make anti-Zionist content. And so, yeah, I will just move on from there, but very clear suppression in the algorithm for the anti-Zionist pro-Palestinian content. So the article goes on to say this is when a platform intervenes to make sure posts do not appear in other people's feeds. Yeah, so that is absolutely what's happening. They shadow ban me for primarily Western audiences and just overall in general pushing my video far less than you could expect. And another thing to mention is it's only like, if you're a geopolitics content creator, you can only expect like a 3 to 6% impression click-through rate. And I've had videos with 15% impression click-through rate, and it's just not getting pushed through the algorithm anymore. So they have ways of tweaking that. And I think it's maybe like a two-step process, just speaking about the algorithm again, where it's something like, here's the normal people we would send your video to. But if it has a really high like impression click-through rate and then view duration and things like that, then we're gonna push your video to a wider and wider circle of potential viewers to see how far it can go. And that's how videos go viral. And it's very clear that there's a mechanism there where they could just shut that off, where it's like, okay, we're not going to push this through the algorithm. We're just going to send it to that initial sample of people who might watch it. And then they can change who that initial sample of people is to make sure that you don't get the impression click-through rate. And even if you do, you still don't go viral. So there are very simple tweaks in the algorithm, just lines of code that they can tweak to make sure that any single person can be shadow banned. Okay, so the article goes on to say the user claims 24-hour posts and stories referencing the conflict have had fewer views than others and that their accounts cannot be found as easily in search. Yes, I absolutely have that happening. It was actually so overt on Twitter for some people I follow, like Angelo I should be able to say this because I'm Italian. Angelo Giuliano. Oh, I did say right there. High five. And Thomas Fazzi and some other people. They were all, I think, Canthon was, SL Canthon was also shadow banned, but they all literally had, you just couldn't read their posts. If they had a multi-post thing, the rest just wouldn't be viewable. And this literally only happened to the anti-Zionist people, the pro-Palestinian people, and it was just so overt. And it's becoming, I think the reason it was so overt was because they were not expecting the backlash to Zionism to occur when it did occur. They were expecting a rally around the flag effect, which when they, I'm not going to say they did 9/11 or not, but if they did have some hand in 9/11 happening, then they understood that turned the Western world against Islam and against the Middle East that allowed for wars to happen. They were expecting that October 7th in Israel would have a similar effect because they still have reign, they still have control over the propaganda apparatus in the West. And unfortunately, well, no, fortunately for my side, information is distributed enough now and it's not concentrated. So even if they do have control over the various social media platforms, it's very hard to suppress an organic grassroots movement that is anti-Zionist, pro-Palestinian. And so they became very heavy-handed in terms of how they handled the pro-Palestinian content, as you can see from this article. So anyways, tech giant acknowledged a bug had affected stories, but said it had nothing to do with the subject matter. So the article goes on to say, biography confusion. This followed posts on X, formerly known as Twitter, and TikTok by Instagram user Conman 1996 on Sunday, which drew attention to the translation error and documented it happening in a screen recording. He had written in his bio that he was Palestinian, followed by a Palestinian flag and the word Alamadil, I don't know how to pronounce that in Arabic, which translates to praise be to God in English. Okay, I've been curious about what that word means because I've been seeing that on Twitter a lot, so now I know, praise be to God. However, upon clicking see translation, viewers were given an English translation reading, praise be to God, Palestinian terrorists are fighting for their freedom. Just shocking. And again, this is something that does not occur naturally, particularly when you have so many. Okay, so when you're talking about translations, if the majority of people think something should be translated in a certain way, then that is what the translation is going to be. And since the vast majority of people are pro-Palestinian right now, there's no way this translation could have occurred organically. It had to be, there was certain manipulations in the translation algorithm that allowed the Zionists to have control over the language and influence people to anti-Palestinian, pro-Zionist. So, at Kahneman in 1996 said in his post he was not Palestinian himself, but had tested the error out after being told it by an unnamed Palestinian friend. He said in a video posted after Instagram fixed the issue that the glitch had been up for at least 3 hours, adding that to me personally, the fact that it was up at all was insane. And then people go on with shadow banning claims. This is not claims, this is reality. Shadow banning is when online services limit the reach or visibility of an account or its content to other users, usually if it falls foul of their guidelines. Okay, so this is probably why they probably used guidelines as an excuse for suppressing my channel because I started talking about Zionism. Instagram released a transparency tool in late 2022 that lets users see whether any restrictions have been placed on their account. It might prevent their posts from being recommended to other users. Bella Hadid claimed to have been shadow banned on Instagram after posting about the Israel-Gaza conflict last year. More recently, Pakistani writer Fatima Bhutto said in an Instagram post she had been shadow banned for pro-Palestinian posts with followers telling her they could not see or find her stories on their feed. In a statement posted on X on Sunday, Meta's communication director, Andy Stone, said the platform had identified a bug, significantly reducing the reach of stories which had reposted reels or content from fellow users. Yeah, that's Andy Stone, by the way, is Zionist, so just don't listen to anything he says. This bug affected accounts equally around the globe. It had nothing to do with the subject matter of the content. and we fix it as quickly as possible. So the article just kind of wraps up here at the end. Not the first time previous accusations of Meta suppressing pro-Palestinian content are well documented. In May 2021, the charity Human Rights Watch accused Instagram of removing videos, pictures, and commentary about the crisis. The social media firm said in response, posts were removed for containing hate speech or symbols and changed its algorithm, but it led Meta to commission an independent review into its moderation of the 2021 Israel-Palestinian content. The Human Rights Due Diligence report by consultancy firm Business for Social Responsibility was published in September 2022. It concluded Meta's actions appear to have an adverse human rights impact on the rights of Palestinian users to freedom of expression, freedom of assembly, political participation, non-discrimination, and therefore on the ability of Palestinians to share information and insights about their experiences as they occur. Okay, so this is something that's worth emphasizing, which is that this algorithmic suppression is directly going against people's rights in a lot of countries, especially in countries like America where people are supposed to have freedom of speech. And so the court system has to decide, are places like Twitter, places like YouTube, places like Instagram here, are they publishers of information or are they platforms? If they're platforms, they have to follow the laws of the land. And right now, places like YouTube, Instagram are not following the laws of the land. They are suppressing you more than they're allowed to do if they are a platform. If they're a publisher, they're allowed to suppress you, but then they take on the legal responsibility for what is posted on their website. And so they're getting the best of both worlds here, where they legally are not responsible for what they're doing because they say they're a platform, but they are acting as a publisher and suppressing content that is primarily anti-Zionist content, pro-Palestinian content. BSR said it did not identify any intentional racial or political biases at Meta. That's a lie, but recommended that the company should offer more detailed explanations to users who have their posts or accounts removed and improve language skills of staff in Hebrew and Arabic dialects. So the article concludes with, on Thursday, Meta and TikTok were sent formal requests by the European Commission for more information about their measures to limit the spread of disinformation and illegal content in the wake of Hamas's attack. So unfortunately, European Commission, European Union, there are various legislative bodies, there are various mechanisms of control. They are very good at creating rules and regulations, but unfortunately in this case, because they are controlled by Zionists, they are very good at creating rules and regulations that suppress pro-Palestinian content and support the pro-Israeli content. So that took far longer than I was expecting. It was a 4 to 6 minute read, but we took 17, 18 minutes on this. So this is something I'm very passionate about, because you have to remember that social media is the town square of our day. It's the town hall of our day. It's where people get together and meet. They don't meet in an actual town hall anymore. They don't meet in churches and discuss things. They meet on social media platforms, and that's where information gets distributed. And right now, the Zionists control the mechanisms of distribution outside of Twitter, but there is increasing evidence that Twitter is becoming pro-Zionist controlled too, because of things like the ADL and APAC controlling a lot of ad revenue and potential ad revenue. And so various social media platforms have to capitulate to their demands, which is unfortunate. But we will continue to bring you content on this. If you're not getting our videos pushed to your algorithm, just go to our website, go to our homepage on YouTube, on Rumble, and just click on the actual video. We have a video coming out every single day right now. And so if you want to keep up to date with the latest and greatest content, things that I think are important to your life, such as this algorithmic suppression, then please go check out our videos. Please like this video if you found it to be informative. Please subscribe to our channels on YouTube and Rumble. It does help at least a little bit to get our videos seen. And please leave us a comment in the comment box. I had a really great comment recently about how I changed their views on Palestine and Israel. So that was nice to hear that we're gaining some influence over these oligarchs who control social media. So thank you for watching, and I hope you have a good rest of your day. Bye.